Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Couple reminders. There's some when we're done. There's two trash cans over here for your plates. You'll get 10 cents back for each one who brings it in there. And also, we have two restrooms in the back here that are available for all that. As I mentioned, I'm Belinda's sister and brother, as she calls me. I'm going to try to make this, as I said earlier, enlightening and loving for a very true, beautiful, loving giant, Gary Sanda. First, I want to acknowledge Paul with the Shasta Land Trust for donating this space and time. And as I found out, a lot of you locals have not been here, and what a beautiful setting for this. I live in Southern California, which is still part of the United States, so this is all new and beautiful and exciting for us. There are several people that I want to acknowledge, let alone to talk about Gary's life in brief. We will have 6 wonderful people to share a story, and I told them to keep it down to at least 25 minutes each, so there will be another dinner. Just joking. So I want to acknowledge for the meals and spending time with Gary in the last year and a half is Holland Chase, Patty Chelovitz. Every name that I mispronounce, you'll get a manicure. Okay. And if I really screw it up, you'll get a massage by Janine somewhere. But Pam and Gary, Belinda, I know you'll correct me on everything, which I love. Kathy, Earl, and Tom Hencorn. Okay, close. And certainly the pickleball family of ladies and gentlemen that have brought meals and everything to Gary and to Belinda as well. A little history about Gary, as my nose is running. I'm sorry. He 1967 was in the Air Force, and that's when I truly met Gary in 1967. Yes, I was very young. I do. Thank you. I was very young. I don't remember the first time really meeting him because it was at a party, and Kathy got me drunk, and Kathy's here. So I want to thank you for bringing me my first beverage when I was very young. But so that being, in 1972 in October, Belinda and Gary got married in Los Angeles, and truly for 50 plus years, I've never seen a more beautiful marriage than I could ever ask for, and truly a long, caring sister and brother that you put up with me on that. Gary's career started in the biotech in Los Angeles, in the San Fernando Valley, and as he grew with his passion of engineering, medical radios and things and electronics, Belinda and Gary got tired of LA, and they decided to find Redding, California in I think it was 1978 when they moved up here, and certainly pioneers for Where's Redding for us, and they mainly fell in love with your community here. He moved on and then found a great career at Mercy Hospital in 1986 as a biotech engineer, and was there for 28 years. And we do have, I'm going to say, give me 1 second. We have Richard from Mercy that will say some words as well on that. After Gary retiring in 2014, well, first of all, I'm going to go back because it's not perfect here. He volunteered for over 20 years with Help Inc. and as a suicide prevention and family counselor on the phone for over 20 years. And I know I said 20 years, but 20 years is a long time to give your heart and soul and helping people in a difficult situation. He spent 50 years working on me, but on the other side, as it's a little windy, sorry. Anyway, prescription glasses or not. His passions. After retiring, his ham radio was great. And then he started working with the California State Office of Emergency Services and became a volunteer and really brought new friends and a new family for him as well. He assisted in fires and search and rescue, and the community was really cool. The Shasta and Cisco Land Trust and doing the river trail cleanups. And also, he loved the Cascade Theater. For 15 years, he was an usher as a volunteer, but he made really good tips, I heard, on that. The Riverfront Playhouse, for years setting up props and working with them, again, volunteering. Gary's travels. Well, first of all, no, Gary's, I think, most passion outdoors, and why they both moved out here is how beautiful the river, the mountains, and kayaking, whitewater kayaking was a true, his, I think, number one passion. And Belinda loved doing it too. And that little young lady was a trooper going on all these river runs and truly enjoyed all that part. Fishing was, again, another great passion for Gary. They traveled a lot. Very jealous. Belinda and Gary traveled since the beginning of their marriage, and from Japan to the Galapagos Islands to New Zealand, Australia, Alaska, Hawaii, and then they bought an RV, beautiful coach, about 7 years ago, and just traveled the Western United States. Never invited me. I was really upset with you, but we won't talk about it now. Now, I think one of the most important is the medical support through Gary's trying last few years that really made it so easy for Gary and for Belinda and Sunny Dye, who I got to know pretty well and who is here today, and also will say some closing moments of care and love. What a special person I saw, and everyone that I saw at the house, and Richard, Gary's smile. Gary always smiled. Even when he was upset with me, he always smiled, and I've never seen him upset. And well, maybe once with my sister, but that's it. There's Richard, Christoph. These are the people that helped medically that I want to really acknowledge. One that I knew from talking to my sister daily, and also my sister's love for them. And I'm going to say Alex V, Ted, Pafini. Again, if I misspelled or mispronounced, you get a free manicure. Jill Phillips, Tom Henthorn, and at Mercy Hospital, and the Vibrant Outpatient Therapy Department. These people worked every day, and Belinda every day would take Gary to the outpatients, right on clock. She was a pusher. She got it. She was so respectful, and I know she gave out, really cared about the staff everywhere. I think I've said enough. I hope I only embarrassed myself. I want to bring our first guest speaker, and that's Buffy. Barry Hill, who's our first guest speaker. If you'd come up, please. Thank you.
Right up here. Woo! So, hi, good afternoon. Belinda, good afternoon. Everyone, good afternoon. My name is Muffy Berry Hill. And, I'm embarrassing you now, yeah.
Mike, thank you. Put it right here. Right
Here. Right there. Better?
I spent 30 minutes going like this.
So you got it, okay. So if you can't hear me, say, put your mic up. So that's a hard thing to do. So I'm Muffy Berry Hill, and like so many of you, my life was enriched by knowing Gary Sanda. I met Gary in the late 1980s when I was the director of Helpline and the volunteer trainer for Helpline. It's the crisis intervention, suicide prevention phone line. We operated the line 24/7 and received between 1,500 and 2,000 calls a month. Wow. Calls were answered by a community of volunteers, about 40 people. Gary was one of them. He volunteered with Helpline for about 20 minutes, as you've just heard, 20 hours. Let me start over. He volunteered for about 20 years, continuing with the agency for more than a decade after I left. My rough guess is that Gary dedicated approximately 4,000 hours serving on the community crisis line and helping to train and mentor volunteers. When I was thinking about Gary's involvement on the line, it dawned on me that Gary epitomized and was an example of the very values and practices of the service. Working on Helpline was full of uncertainty. Every time the phone rang, Gary and other volunteers had no idea who was on the other end or what they were calling about. Was it someone needing to hear a friendly voice? Or get a referral to a community organization? Or was it someone trying to handle a family crisis or a physical or mental health issue? Or perhaps was it someone at the end of their rope and considering ending their own life? Gary and other volunteers knew that they needed patience and sensitivity, and even some courage to answer the phone. They also knew that the hardest part for the caller was picking up the phone and calling. If a connection of trust wasn't made early, the caller could just hang up and the chance to offer support would be lost. Over the last month, I've talked with a few former volunteers about Gary's work on the phone line. I heard things like, Gary was a natural. He had a gentle, calming voice and a quiet disposition. And Gary made connection with callers right away. The caller knew very quickly that he was being heard, and Gary cared. Gary seemed to also be a natural in other skills needed for a Helpline volunteer. The skills of deep listening. Listening not only with the eyes, but with the heart. Listening to understand the other. As one volunteer explained, Gary was not ego-based. He didn't need to talk just for the sake of talking. Listening to help, and listening and responding with empathy, hearing the powerful emotions behind the caller's message. Volunteering and answering the helpline, it really had to remain non-judgmental. They never knew who they were talking to or about what. And conveying respect for the caller's strength and ability to figure out what she could do. Gary didn't need to push his point of view, a volunteer said. He had a way with people and had a big heart, which was always ready to help. You know, what's interesting to me is that professionally, Gary was a biomedical technician, a field in which problems are specific and in which, with expertise, a definitive answer could be found. Yet Gary spent thousands of hours listening to and talking with human beings who were sharing problems that were squishy, that were undefined, and that were vague. But yep, he was there. His brain functioned well in the specific and concrete realm of technology and machinery, and equally well in the nebulous and fuzzy realm of human emotions. His interests, his mind, and his heart encompass both realms. One more point. Gary was part of the glue that helped create support and sense of belonging among volunteers. You see, being part of Helpline was like being part of a secret society. Our membership was exclusive by invitation and with specific training. We had a shared purpose and unique customs. We operated anonymously and confidentially in a location that was not publicly known, secret. Let me see here. The wind is going to get this. There we go. Yeah, got it. Oh, yes. Okay. So inclusion in this group might be somewhat intimidating, but as a volunteer told me, Gary was welcoming, personable, and friendly. He shared a good sense of humor, had a certain sparkle in his eye, and always a smile. An affinity among Helpline volunteers was based on mutual trust, which was helped, I believe, by Gary's stable sense of self. One volunteer put it, Gary was comfortable in his own skin. What you saw was what you got. He had no pretense. Gary's presence and steady involvement over the years helped develop a sense of safety and support. As stated by a volunteer, Gary had a consistent presence at Helpline. It seemed like a fixture that he was there. I knew he would always be there for me. You know, Gary was a good guy. He could be counted on, he could be trusted. He showed up physically and emotionally. He was present. Gary was genuine. He was the real deal. He could bring out the best in people. As summed up by one volunteer, Gary had a heart as big as a watermelon. How lucky we all were to have him in our lives. Thanks for listening.
That was incredible. Thank you so much. Roger Page with Mercy. They worked together for over 28 years, I believe.
Thank you. Well, it's my honor and privilege to be here today and just share a few thoughts about Gary. And one of the things I'd like to invite all of you to do is, we've heard a lot of different words that describe Gary, but when you think of Gary, what word comes to your mind? And I've got a number of them here that I'll list that when I was thinking about it came to my mind. And the other thing I noticed is the picture that Belinda sent out for the invitation. We've talked about Gary's smile today, and I'm like, that's Gary. That was Gary when he was happy. That was Gary when he was looking at me and thinking, I don't think that makes sense. He'd still smile. And then even the picture over there by the door, when I came today, I thought, oh, that's the same picture, but it's not. But it's the same smile. And that was a trait of Gary. Things that are on here, when I looked at, again, what was written up about Gary, he did so many things. It would probably wear most of us out, but he was active. He was active when he was working, when he retired, he was active in the community and continued. So when I asked you what word comes to mind, we've heard generous. We've talked about a little bit already community volunteerism. He maintained kindness, humor, optimism. For me, it was Gary's smile again. I put down truth teller, because at the hospital, we had a number of things sometimes, and Gary, that we needed to get done, and we'd have a certain way we were thinking we needed to do it. And Gary was willing to share, I think there's a different way, or I'm not so sure that's a good idea. He would smile, but then he would also come with a solution or different offerings, and we always came out with a better outcome. One of those things had to do, how many of you remember Y2K, when the world was coming to an end? Yeah, everything was going to come to an end. It could be disastrous. Maybe it could have, because computers weren't set up that way. When I talked with some others, so Gary and some of you that are here were key in going through our hospital equipment to make sure that there wouldn't be a bad outcome for our patients in this community. And over, as Y2K got closer and closer, Gary would smile, I don't think anything's going to happen. His optimism, though, didn't change his diligence, which we know in Gary. He didn't think, oh, it's no big deal. They went through all the equipment. There were binders of checks and other things, and what would we do if something failed? How would we ensure that the patient was cared for? And I appreciated that about Gary. Another word that came to my mind was friend. So not just working, but friend. And I had the opportunity, along with some of my family, to do some things with Gary and Belinda outside of work, kayaking and other things like that. He was always encouraging. He was patient. I was not the best kayaker. When my son and I first got it, we actually went out on the lake and promptly went up a little stream and sunk it. So Gary said, hey, why don't you come with me? And if you know a little bit about Gary, you'll see where he went off, Whitewater Rapids and other things. He didn't take us to that type of area, but he was very patient, encouraging, brought us along. We went down the Sacramento River together a number of times. And I knew there was a lot of trust that probably all of us put into Gary, because when I told my son, why don't we go down the Sacramento River, and he said, is Gary coming? And I said, no, we're fine. And this river goes up and down. He said, I don't think so, Dad, maybe we should wait. So again, very grateful for those times with Gary. The other thing that a lot of us at Mercy Medical Center, or the engineering department probably, and those of the employees that got invited to the biomedical and engineering Christmas luncheon that they would always do, everybody brought a special dish. And I don't know if it was Gary or Belinda, but the tres leche cake. Is that Gary? He loved it, and we all looked for it, and if it didn't come, then we were like, hey. But there was a special sauce, rum sauce, which I'm sure was non-alcoholic, but Gary always seemed to have, at least it seemed to me, he had an extra bottle that wasn't out with everybody, so I wondered, is there different sauce in that than what we're getting? But it was phenomenal. So I'll end with those words again. What a friend, what a trusting individual that we could put our trust in to care for our patients at the hospital, at this community. What a servant to the community. Happy to remember and celebrate that life. So as I end here and I think about Gary, my comments and my thoughts are, Gary, we are not strangers after a farewell, but we are friends waiting for the next hello. Thank you.
I learned so much. We all do. How Gary was so special. Ted, would you please come up and again, if you stand here and close to here, we can all hear.
My name is Ted Paulfini. I've known Gary for a long time.
Microphone on your chin, Ted.
I've known Gary for a long time. How about this? Right into the chin. I've known Gary for a long time. I went through the other day all the texts from Gary between us since 2017. And it was an adventure, but it reminded me of how things can change so quickly in our lives. Gary was about details. He noticed things big and small, and I think the previous speakers indicated as such. Key words for me, for Gary, was he was observant and he was thoughtful. Well over 20 years ago, Gary invited me to a boys' adventure on the Klamath River for river kayaking, which I had never done. I showed up with a borrowed kayak, a life jacket, and maybe a helmet. And when I drove up, Gary, of course, was smiling. He looked at my gear. He looked at me. He picked up the life jacket and asked me to put it on. For the next 10 minutes, Gary cinched, buckled, tugged, pulled, until he was satisfied that if I dumped into the river, I would at least float with my head above the water. Only then did he clear me and was ready for action. And to me, that meant that he made me feel special. Maybe it was just Gary, but he did make me feel special. So thank you, Gary. Observant and thoughtful. Gary and Belinda and Jill and I had gone to the coast a few times, and I remember Gary had watched Jill carefully go through the rocks on the beach, and she was finding her special rocks. I think a lot of us would do that same thing. Sometime later, Gary and Belinda returned from one of their adventures, and Gary brought back 2 smooth beach rocks as a gift to Jill, because he noticed and he thought about her. And I think Jill felt like she was special. Thank you, Gary. He was a patient and caring river guide. As Roger said, and Jill has already told me that we thought maybe we'd go on a kayaking trip on the river, and she says we won't have Gary. And she says maybe we'll wait till a better day. Anyway, but he was always the first one to help, because we capsized a few times on our kayaking trips, and I remember him being the first one out of his kayak and to help somebody else. It was always grateful. He was a darn good baker too. Somebody else mentioned another dessert, but for me it was his traditional Norwegian Christmas bread, the julekake, which I had to look that one up. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I really will miss Gary.
Wow. And a sourdough bread, there's so many things in his salmon that he used to can. He was great, much better than you, Belinda, My gosh. Dustin, Warren, would you be kind to come up? Dustin is with the Search and Rescue of the County of Shasta. And I know it was a big part of his life. I'm Mitch, and keep it here. Mike's going to be really happy if you would do it. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hi, I'm Dustin with the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. I'm honored to be here. Belinda texted me and asked me to speak, and Eric reminded me and asked me to speak today. And I got to thinking, like everybody else, about who Gary was or memories with Gary. And I have to echo what everybody is saying. His smile was the first thing that popped out, and this picture is exactly Gary. I can't think of Gary without thinking of that smile, no matter what we were going through.
Excuse me, a few people are asking, if you can hold it right there. It's not, doesn't
Absolutely.
matter to me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary joined Search and Rescue in 2016 with us, and it's amazing to sit here and hear all the different stories about all the different things that he did, because when you interact with somebody, you only see a facet of their life, and I knew he was with Cal OES, and I knew that he was with us, but to see this is a amazing life that Gary lived with all the different things. It's humbling to see how many different organizations and different things that he volunteered with. But he was with us since 2016 in our communications department, or on our communications team. And in 2022, when the team leader moved away, Gary stepped up and became the team leader for us absolutely willingly. He didn't hesitate for a second. And during the time we were going through, I remember we were going through and updating all the frequencies, and we were going through, and everybody was starting to get radios, and so we were starting to program radios, and Gary was diligent to work hard. We have almost 200 volunteers, and he was diligent with his team to work hard and make sure everybody's radio got programmed consistently. We were constantly bringing him radios. In fact, I was remembering when he was in the hospital in 2023, I went in to visit him, and he was sitting there watching, I think it was football, and he still had that big old smile on his face. And I walked in, asked him how he was doing, and he says, "Oh, I'm just fine." And I said, "Well, I got some radios for you to program." And he says, "Okay, we'll get right on it." He never once hesitated to help. We always have a saying that communication is the first thing that breaks down on any one of our operations, and Gary was there always to make sure that that wouldn't happen. And if we had any issues, which inevitably with communications we would, Gary was the first one to jump in and make sure that it got fixed. We can't tell you how much we appreciated Gary's service to the county, to the citizens of Shasta County, and to the citizens that come and visit this great place that he loved to play in and to recreate in. He was always there to help and make sure that we can bring people home and bring people closure. And his service and his big smile will always be remembered on our teams. And I remember even we would go to the breakfast with the communication guys up there on Hilltop, and the last couple of years, every time I'd see him, it just the big old smile on his face and greet you and say how he was. So it was great to get to know Gary. It was great to work with Gary, and we'll always miss him as part of the team. He leaves a legacy and a team that continues to grow and continues to serve Shasta County very, very well. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come up here and talk this morning.
Well, this next individual not only was with Gary almost every day, a part of our family. I thought Gary said I was his best friend, but no, it was Sonny. And so I lost out again. And I'd like to bring up Sonny Dye. Sonny was with Gary for the last 2.5 years, almost every day. And the only other part that I would like to share about Gary, two things is, one, he always wanted to get better through his vast, always tried hard. And why is because of this individual. So Sonny, please be here. Microphone next to your beautiful beard. Stand in this area, and it's all yours.
I'm just a caregiver. That's something I said to Gary once, that I'm just a caregiver. I don't think you want me to do that. I mean, that's a bold statement to say to me.
We love you.
Gary corrected me pretty quickly after I made that statement. He didn't see me as just anything. Belinda and Gary welcomed me into their life when he was leaving Vibra. I brought him home. I was there for him any way that I could be. For her as well. And I tried to be more than just a caregiver. I think today I can stand up here and I can say that Gary Sanda was my friend. He was much more than just someone I helped. He was someone I thought about often, even when I wasn't with him. He helped restore a piece of me that I thought might have been gone. My faith in people had been tested working in healthcare. And Gary helped me remember what that meant, to have faith in people. As I stand here in front of everybody here today, I'm just a caregiver. But I look across the sea of faces and I see so many people that I've met. Every time I went somewhere with Gary, even if it was just on a walk, I met someone I'd never met before, who had known him for so much longer than I was ever afforded the opportunity. He was kind, he was gentle, he was thoughtful, and he was an all-around good person, and I am very proud to call that man my friend. If you're ever walking the river trail by Belinda and Gary's beautiful home, on either side of it you'll notice some irises of a variety of colors that Gary planted. It was kind of an inside joke that every day we went for a walk, he would point to one that I'd never noticed before. And then he would laugh at me. As I said, I never saw that before. But Gary, he loved life and everything about it. And all of the people here are a testament to that. All the people that he touched in his time. And Belinda, ma'am, it was my pleasure and my honor to help you and your husband. And if you need anything, you know you can reach out to me. I'm sorry that I couldn't have done more. What that means, I don't know. I mean, I suppose I could have carried him, but he was heavy.
He wouldn't have liked it.
No, and he probably would have complained the whole time. You know, road's too bumpy, too windy. Thank every one of you for coming out and supporting my friend. I may not have known him for as long as many of the people here today, but I loved that man more than I think I'm able to express. I saw him the day before he passed, and I said the same things to him I had said for 2.5 years. Is there anything you need? Anything I can do for you? I thanked him and I told him to have a good day and I'd see him tomorrow. I miss him every day. But because of the faith in people that Gary helped restore in me, I carry a piece of him with me forever. Thank you all very much for listening to me talk and for being a friend to a friend.
So well said. Thank you, Sonny. We have one more wonderful everyday every week coming to help Gary, and that's Richard and Richard Christoph, who I saw many times, and for so long to help Gary. This is going to be right here. I don't want to get in trouble with Mike again.
Let's give that a try. All right. Well, what a wonderful turnout to honor a life well lived. I'm Richard Christoph, and have had the good fortune to know Gary and Belinda for over 45 years. We were born in 1949, all moved to Reading in 1978, and after meeting through mutual friends, found that we three shared a love of natural beauty, good friends, good food, and a keen interest in outdoor activities. Gary and I were also military veterans and were fortunate to have worked at Mercy Medical Center for many years. He is a biomedical technician and I as a physical therapist. We both fully appreciated the many tangible benefits that our benevolent employer provided, as well as the intangible benefit of teamwork and camaraderie with our fellow employees, and the recognition that our work together was for a shared purpose and not merely for a paycheck. We all have special memories of Gary, and a few of mine revolve around Gary's excellent whitewater kayaking skills and the great fun we've had together on Clear Creek and on the Trinity, Klamath, Sacramento, and Scott rivers, often with other friends, and sometimes just the two of us. One memorable high point was a full week spent with Gary and Belinda at Otter Bar Kayaking School on the Cal Salmon way back in 1992. But the best time I ever had on any river was with Gary on the Scott River on June 17th, 1994, during which we happily surfed and practiced eddy turns like a couple of kids through mile after mile of stunning natural beauty. The date is easy to remember because after returning to Indian Creek Campground, we learned that O.J. Simpson's slow speed chase had occurred at the same time that we were out paddling. My beloved wife, Terry, who would be here if not for a long-planned trip with her sister Jane, always relied on Gary to pick the downstream route and trusted him completely on the water, far more than she trusted me, and with good reason. For many of us beginning and intermediate boaters, Gary was the quintessential good shepherd, always cool, calm, prudent, and precise. Gary and I often commented on the inscription on a bench on the west bank of the Klamath that said, "It's a good thing to be lucky now and then." True then and true now. But we always agreed that luck is the residue of design, and Gary was excellent at designing his good luck. In addition to sharing work and whitewater experiences, over the years, Gary and I planned multiple boys' nights, as well as multi-day convocations of the brethren, in which a bunch of us guys would gather for pizza, beer, and engage in animated efforts to solve the various problems of the world. As we all know by now, despite the best intentions of the brotherhood, our noble goal was unsuccessful. But Gary would want that quixotic quest to continue, and so it will. Gary was truly a Renaissance man, highly intelligent, scrupulously honest. Compassionate, generous, open-minded, and very well read. I recall many times that Gary would stop by our house to pass along his latest issue of Scientific American, and we would discuss science, economics, philosophy, history, religion, investing, politics, current events, and whatever books and articles that we had read recently. We concluded early on that we were both pragmatic idealists, and I always admired Gary's commitment to basing his beliefs on facts, evidence, and the scientific method. Another admirable attribute of Gary's is that he treated everyone with the same respect. Male or female, black, brown, white, gay or straight, adult or child, disabled or non-disabled, blue collar or white collar, liberal, conservative, or independent. It didn't matter to Gary. Everyone was the same. Having a positive attitude is not difficult when life is going well, but the true mark of character is how one deals with adversity. I had the privilege of working with Gary after his second stroke, both at rehab with Vibra's permission and at the Sanda's beautiful home after his discharge. During the 2.5 years that fellow friend and PT Alex von Dockenhausen and I worked with Gary, he was the ideal rehab patient. He was always good-natured, highly motivated, cooperative, hardworking, and he never once expressed a trace of self-pity. Despite having right leg weakness, a paralyzed right arm, and very limited speaking ability, he persevered with full participation and ultimately made excellent progress. His first full sentence was in response to a comment that either Belinda or I had made when he said, "I beg to differ." And we three burst out laughing. When I last saw Gary on November 1st, we walked a big loop down near the river, and I'm grateful to have taken my last photo of him on the river trail. River in the background, clear blue sky, vibrant fall colors, and Gary standing tall, with cane, sling, Trinidad Beach t-shirt, and his big, wide, trademark Gary grin. Those of us lucky enough to know Gary not only loved him, but also respected him for the man he was. And I would be remiss if I neglected to mention his devoted soulmate of many, many years. Belinda and Gary were a great team for decades, and their warmth, caring, and generosity to their many, many friends is deeply appreciated, as is their consistent support of worthy causes such as Shasta Land Trust. They have set a fine example for all of us. And since Gary's first stroke, Belinda has been the most loving and supportive spouse that one could imagine, always advocating for what was best for Gary and spending no time, effort, or expense to ensure that her life partner had every possible opportunity to progress and to thrive. Kudos to you, Belinda. No one could have done it better. Most of us have lost close friends and family in recent years, and as we move forward on this great conveyor belt of life, it is good to remember the things that are most important. First, do no harm. Love your neighbor as yourself. Treat others as you would wish to be treated. Realize that life is short. Treasure friends and family, and try to make the world just a little bit better. Gary Sanda exemplified all of those, and I'll always remember him with a smile.
So beautiful. So I want to end this with a couple announcements. The trash bins over here. Remember, you'll get your 10 cents. And there's restrooms here. And I hope there's still some food for the ones that maybe didn't. But thank you, everyone, for coming out to acknowledge Gary and Belinda and his life. I think the last thing we need to do, and that's just being me, is I think we need a picture of all of us smiling. And I promise I won't post it yet, because I don't know how. So will everyone please smile and put your hands up and say, "We love you, Gary."
Love you, Gary.
Wait, yeah, I can do that this way too. All right, yes. Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you all. Get to know each other. So many stories I didn't know. Thank you. very much, and I hope I behave, Belinda. Okay. All right, I love you so much.
Me having that shit. No.
It's like garbage in, garbage out.
Had a nice day,
You're fine. Thank you for being considerate. Oh, yeah. Always be aware of your surroundings.
Yes.
No, that was nice of you.
Gary. Oh, it's not there.